Hey everyone, this is Michelle Sullivan again, bringing you another storytelling, uh, another story in this storytelling project that I have been working on. Helene, 1 year later, stories of loss and overcoming, and we are here in this week of experiencing the anniversary of Hurricane Helene. I am turning off the volume on my phone. And I have my friend Jill O'Gwen here.
Good idea. I'll turn
And
the volume off my phone too.
yeah.
Hi.
And so Jill and I work out together at Burn Boot Camp and have known each other for several years. And we live in the same neighborhood. And so I had contact with Jill throughout Hurricane Helene. And I know a little bit about her story, but I wanted to give her an opportunity to share. So Jill, thank you for being here.
Hey, thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah. So, we're just gonna dive right in, so kind of just think about it like you and me sitting together over coffee and
All
just
right.
talking to friends. So, Jill, we are on this 1 year anniversary of Hurricane Helene, and I'm just curious, what do you remember about the days leading up to it hitting our area? What do you remember about that?
Oh my goodness. So it was for me, it was within 24 hours before it hit. Unfortunately, I stay out of the news, which unfortunately I usually never know what's going on with the weather. So that's my own little problem in life. I'm never dressed for the right season. But I remember being at the front desk at Burn Boot Camp. And the girl, my leadership team was talking about, well, what should we do? Should we preemptively cancel? Because as far as we all knew was that we were going to be in the bands. So this Michigan girl doesn't know anything about hurricanes, and I still am learning. But for me, I thought that was just going to look at some really crazy winds and some really intense rain. But that being said, we wanted to keep everyone safe just in case. And so if I'm remembering correctly, they preemptively had decided either they weren't going to open early in the morning or they were going to not have the evening camps. I can't really remember, but I remember everyone just being like, oh, it's just almost like, yeah, we have caution, but we're also like, is this really kind of,
Yeah.
are we really going to get anything? And and I think that, later that evening, I still wasn't looking into the news or anything like that, but I was laying in bed scrolling, and this is probably around like my bedtime hour, 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And I was following some news man, a guy who's not a news anchor for any broadcast station, but a guy who's heavily like excited about weather and talking about it. And he came across my feed and had some very interesting ways of talking about the weather. And he said he seemed at that moment I realized we're going to get more intense weather because he said most likely we're all going to lose power at 5 in the morning. And I remember being like, how we're all going to lose power at 5 in the morning?
Yeah.
And I was like, man, that's going to be a bummer. And but that's all that really came across my mind. And I fell asleep soundly listening to, I believe, the beginning of the storm or beginning of the rain. And just like he had said, I woke up without needing an alarm or anything to an extremely large, aggressive transformer pop. And then from that moment on, it was like crash, crash, crash. Every 30 minutes, I could hear the sound of a tree snapping and breaking. And still in my mind, not really holding on, like not understanding the gravity at all of the situation that was going on. Um, and then probably when the sun rose and the wind was just whipping these trees around, you could just really see uh, the intense weather, and maybe just being still very fascinated and still very much not understanding the gravity of the possibilities of danger that I was in. I walked outside and I was in the storm, walking up and down and seeing if I could see. And I was like, oh my gosh, all of the wires are down. We are completely blocked in. And this was just from my front yard. So what I could see from my front yard, I could see we're completely blocked in by a lot of trees. And I just had with all of the wires down and knowing what I knew when I went and visited Puerto Rico after their hurricane, I knew I was like, ooh, we're gonna have no power for a long time. And I just went back in the house, kind of like, ooh, this is bad. And then I randomly went downstairs because at this point I have absolutely no power. And so we're wandering around with our headlamps and candles. And I go downstairs and I am right up to like the higher part of my ankle. My basement's flooding and it's flooding fast. And that was really gutting for me because we've been doing so much work to our house and you know so I remember thinking, oh my goodness, and then also still living in my gratitude because I had just come home from my grandma's funeral with a lot of precious furniture items and I was just thanking God that I had thought to put them upstairs and they were safe and when I was downstairs kind of in the water I noticed my daughter's baby books floating across the water and was gutted and scared and I grabbed them and I saved them and they still have all the water stains and everything but they're good. I lost a couple pictures that were in there but beyond that I just felt so grateful that I knew everything that was I was losing was something I could replace and everything that I held dear was safe. So I was still staying place in my gratitude and Hadley slept through most of everything, but woke up and, just keeping her inside and watching the storm from the windows, which maybe that wasn't very smart. Still don't know. Like, they teach you to be in like a small area away from the windows. And
Yeah.
here I was doing the opposite. Um, but yeah, we watched the storm, and then it ended and the sun came out and it was beautiful outside. And then we all walked outside to see something that I've never seen before
Mm.
and I haven't seen since. This neighborhood that I live in is very quiet and beyond the two neighbors that live directly next to me, I don't know anybody by name. I might see a couple people that walk every day down the road, but for the most part, these people are all strangers to me, and they were all out in the roads observing the trees that had fallen down, and we were all talking. And goodness, the one thing that I liked about the hurricane was that because I'm a community-driven girl, and I was hoping that this was a start of some great community like neighborhood. But it like as soon as the hurricane stuff was all over, it went back to normal, and I haven't seen anybody since. But anyhow, it seemed like everyone was coming around the massive trees that were down that were blocking us all in. And I realized that every single person in my neighborhood, not a single person had a chainsaw, not a single
Mm.
person had anything but your regular saw or your landscaping weeders. And all of those people got out there with those tools and started hacking away, hacking away. And then a few hours later, we were free to go about our way. And I remember I still had cell phone service. So I remember calling my friend Jancy, who owns a pawn shop, and asking, because I know that pawn shop always had chainsaws just swinging in the air as you
Yeah.
drove by it. And it's just, I could walk there. So I was calling her and she picks up the phone and she goes, Jill, oh my God, how did you get a hold of me? I go, I have cell phone service. And she goes, no one else does. No one else does. She's like, I'm trying so hard to get a hold of people in my house because um, I have a house watcher with my dogs, and just fortunate for her, but unfortunate. She was in Aruba, I think. So it was really random that I got a hold of her, and she's like, I'm so sorry, dear. I can't get you a chainsaw because we're not there. And she goes, it's bad, Jill. It's bad. Like, you're lucky you have cell phone service. And then right then she cut out,
Mm.
and I couldn't get any further connection with anybody after that.
Yeah.
Well, after maybe a few other texts I had sent out, I got some news like Publix was still open, and Oh my God, digressed to when it was still about 6 in the morning and we lost power. And my husband, the coffee addict that he is, he's like, I'm gonna go out. So I forgot that like 6 in the morning, he got in his car to drive to Ingles, and Ingles was up and running with Starbucks and everything. And he goes, I'm going out for supplies. And he comes back with nothing but coffee. And I remember being like, oh, okay, well, all right, thank you. And he goes, yeah, everything lost power as soon as he walked out the doors from Ingles and he saw power lines snap and a pole fall down. And I'm like, well, I'm so glad you made it home safe and sound. And obviously he made it back into our neighborhood before some of those more massive trees fell.
Yeah,
But that was kind of another one of those. We had no clue
I
what we
know.
were dealing with.
I
So
and you know what I think is so interesting is that in our area, in our neighborhood, we live in a mountain neighborhood,
yeah.
although you wouldn't really know it. But as the water is coming down the mountain, you were experiencing that runoff
Oh
from
yeah.
all of the rain because I know what your backyard looks like, and so you were experiencing that. Did you know that a little bit further down the road at the railroad tracks that the water was so strong down there on what is that, Mills Gap Road, that it
Mhm.
washed away underneath the railroad tracks.
Oh
And
yeah.
that
Yeah.
water was flooding all the businesses in its path and the Ingalls on Hendersonville Road. Is that the Ingalls that Brian went to?
He went to the one on Long Shoals, just past Burn.
Long
Mhm.
Shoals, because he wouldn't have been able to have gone to the one.
Right. At that point, it's so weird because I'm like trying to, like, when did the flooding get really bad? Like, at
Hmm.
what time? Because it seemed like life for Brian when he was out on the roads. He's like, yeah, people weren't panic buying yet at that point. People were still kind of like, oh man, I got to get some coffee. It was just
Yeah.
random people and their necessities. And
Yeah. Or what
I
we
think
think
it
is a
really hit
necessity.
him that things were going really bad was when he saw the power line. I mean, he said that he almost got hit. Like
Mm.
he almost got like it almost landed. It landed in the parking lot and he was
Hmm.
right there.
Wow.
And he saw lightning come down. I mean, it sounded like everything started normal, like, oh, we're up early and we're dealing with this. And then quickly went into like, I need to get home now.
Yeah.
And so I wonder, because when I mean, you know how it is just like a steep drive down, and like my house is on the side of the hill. So
Mm-hmm.
it is like the water just ran down, and my neighbors have those train tracks behind them. And then we have this little pathetic creek behind our yard. We lost a great deal of land because of how flooded that river went, and it exposed a lot of tree roots back there, and I'm still losing trees during storms or windy days. I'll hear something, I'll wake up and I run to my backyard, and there I've lost two walnuts.
Mm.
We're still working on chopping one that we lost like a couple months ago.
Yeah. Yeah. So if my understanding is that you were somewhat aware of the storm, but not really too concerned at the before it hit, and then a little more aware after when or
Yeah,
during the
just a
storm.
bit. Just
Yeah.
a bit. There's
Yeah.
still like layers to it, right? There's
Yeah.
layers because like you're like,
It,
oh, my road got hit. But when we did get out, so the rumors were that Publix was open. So I don't know how we found that out. If maybe it was one of the messages I got out. I know I talked to a couple people just to make sure they were okay. And they're like, Publix is up and running if you can get to it. Well, goodness sakes, that was an eye opener trying to get down Hendersonville Road at that time.
yeah.
You saw cars completely submerged, almost as if they'd driven into a lake.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of different areas that we had to like kind of path through, like apartment complex and other areas. And a 10-minute drive, I think it took us 2 hours to get to Publix. And when we got in there, I experienced something similar to what I experienced the days after the lockdown. I mean, the shelves were barren, nothing was there, and we were grabbing food, LaCroix, like because the water was gone,
Yeah.
and I still was just like, wow, this is hard. This is crazy. And then we got back in our car and I was like, um, because I still didn't connect that like everything was out. There wasn't gas. There
Yeah.
wasn't gas. And for some weird reason, I never let my car go below half tank, but my van specifically was on E the day before the hurricane. So we had one vehicle, which was thankfully my husband's Subaru, which is great on gas, but we had his tank and that was all we had. But we still weren't connected that we need to save it. So I was like, we need to go see my friend Molly and John in Fletcher and my two, their kids and see if they need anything. Uh, and we got out there. It took us forever. And as we were traveling through again to get to Fletcher and traveling back by where the old BorgWarner office space or factory was,
Yeah.
it was complete. It was nuts. I mean, to see like semis, cars flipped over, parking lots flooded, and mud everywhere, everywhere, like as if the mudslides and stuff. I mean, to see semis flipped over and see all these trees, and the fear starts really creeping in little bit by little bit. And I make it to Molly's and we give and embrace and giant hugs and we talk a little bit about our experience. And she says, my John, who's he works at the Grove Park Inn, and she's like, he went there because they're freezers and coolers and they're out of power, and he just wanted to go there because he does the gingerbread houses and stuff, and he wanted to see what he could do to help. And it wasn't long that we had arrived that all of a sudden John showed up, and he said that he had to park so far away from the Grove Park Inn and walk miles to where he was. And he did the trip 3 times to load his car up with as many supplies as he could because they were throwing everything out.
Mm.
And then hearing that the Grove Park Inn probably would be without power and water, I think he said a month. And that was when just a pit went in my stomach to realize, like, wait, this isn't just a week. This isn't just 2 weeks. This isn't just my house, their house. It's so bad. And to hear his tales of, how long it took him to get there and how long he took him to get back and what he was seeing.
Yeah.
Pure. I mean, I went from like this positive, like, whoa, this is crazy, to immediately like gutted. And when he goes, Molly, I was able to get a hold of your brother. We're going to go and spend time with them in Charlotte because there's nothing for us here. We don't have water. They didn't have water or power. He's like, we can't stay here. We don't know how long. And then I was like, oh my God, my friend's leaving me there. I'm here alone. I have nothing and nobody. I'm going to go back to my house that's smelling of mold already. And yeah, so we got in the car, and I think the whole ride home, I don't think me and Brian said anything to each other. We're just like, what are we gonna do? Where are we gonna go? And sidebar, my husband is down to one lung post cancer, and I am freaking out on the inside. I know he's not, but I am freaking out about mold and what that could do to him.
Yeah.
And what does this look like? What's going to come of our home, and what's going to happen? And we get home, and I'm happy to see that we still have water, because I was terrified when we were at Molly's that we had missed an opportunity to fill stuff up. Because he said, without a doubt, even though I didn't lose water, I was going to lose water, and I didn't know anything like that. So I got home, and I was still blessed to find that I had water. So I filled every single thing I had, every Tupperware, every canister, every jar, every cup, every our kiddie pool, all sorts of things. I don't have a bathtub. I only have one shower. So that's what I had. And I filled it all up. And after I got it full, we lost water. And so I felt accomplished. Meanwhile, my husband's out with a garden hose down the hill, siphoning water out of our basement. And we're doing our best to shovel it out. And he did a great job. And we sat like ducks with nothing, no way to get a hold of anybody, no way of doing anything. And then I think it was the second day. Oh, I also felt gutted because I was right on the gun with calling my insurance company to see if maybe I could get some help. And that was a sad moment. So I think I just sat there thinking in all my feels, but I think it was maybe a day or two, and I got a little bit of service, and I got my messages. All of a sudden, my phone was going off like message from all my family in Michigan checking on me. And then one special message was from my aunt and uncle who live in Atlanta, Georgia. And they were like, Jill, if you get this message, come, get out of the Asheville, come, we'll feed, come get clean, come get pampered. So I went right over to my neighbor's house, gave him my keys, and I gave him a camp stove and propane. And I said, I'll be back in a few days or so, but you have all the ability to go into my house and get anything that you need, because my neighbors are very, they need oxygen. They need a lot of help and assistance. So I felt bad about leaving them, but I just was trying to give them all the tools that I could from my home to keep them safe. And then we skedaddled, and we made it it took us a while to get gas, and we almost ran out of gas to getting to Atlanta, because a 3-hour drive took several hours. And we got there, and it was so nice to relax and get clean. But then you have all of the news, all the things that you can get online now and see, and you can literally see the devastation that you couldn't see while you were stuck. And it was overwhelming. I felt guilty that I was in Atlanta. I felt hopeless. I felt like having joyous moments was taking away from someone's suffering. It was very hard to go and understand that I'm where I need to be because I'm keeping my family safe.
Yeah.
And, we were lucky and maybe a little unlucky because I loved staying at my aunt and uncle's. But all of a sudden we get a call from FEMA, and we had an appointment scheduled for 7 a.m. the next day. So we only got 3 days in Atlanta, 3 days of feeling clean. And we immediately were like, we can't miss this appointment. Rescheduling might be the really bad thing to do because you can't count on anything.
Right.
So we got in our car, packed it full of supplies. We drove even 50 minutes outside of Atlanta specifically for these gallon mold remover jugs, because no one in Asheville could get that. So we were trying to be helpful with that. Yeah. And so we picked up like so many of these gallons so that we could treat our home. We have a friend who has a studio down in the River Arts District that was deeply in need. I mean, deeply, and plenty other people. So we only ended up having to return one of those gallons. That's how, I think we bought like 10 of them.
Wow.
And we got so many waters, all the other things that we could get. And we drove home, and it took us again only like 6 hours, and we were getting home so late. But when we got home, I had hope. I got home and my porch light was on.
Oh, wow.
So I got power back pretty quick. But we still didn't have running water, and that's okay. Like that was, it was nice to know that we had some power, and that we could get that dehumidifier running.
Yeah.
And man, it was so crazy to be home though, and have those helicopters swirling over your head nonstop.
Yep.
It seemed it seemed unreal.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing while I was in Atlanta, one of the interesting things was that my grandmother has cousins that live in Burnsville. So they're a little older than my parents, and I don't see them very often. But every now and then we get together. And when I say like every now and then, I mean like years in between.
Yeah.
But they're kind and sweet. And I knew they were in Burnsville, and I knew that they're elderly. And I was worried out of my mind for them because I couldn't find them. I couldn't locate them. So I spent my time in Atlanta finding myself into these social network groups to try and help find lost people. And it took me all 3 days I was there, but I put them on a people list, and I found them.
Oh, good.
And it was so wonderful to find them and know. All I knew was that they were found though.
Yeah.
They didn't say whether they were alive or not. And then I kept sending messages after messages after messages, and finally one came through that they were safe and sound in Myrtle Beach. But their neighbor's house was hit by a mudslide, and they were actually helicoptered from their actual house, like right from their house. And so I still look forward to hopefully getting together with them soon to hear their story, but that's wild.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it was nuts seeing all that. And I had a friend who military trained. He gets in with areas that need saving, and so he was on those helicopters in the neighboring, and he opened my eyes to it's not just Asheville, but it's Lake Lure, it's Black Mountain, it's all the little towns who are have it so much worse. And to hear his stories and to follow his stories, it was really hard. It was really hard to just be like, wow, we are so lucky, and others are not.
Yeah.
And that, you know, just all those back and forth emotions,
Yeah.
and being able to get a hold of you. So like, I did see your post in it when I was in Atlanta, and lucky for me, when I got my power back, I had service, so I was able to touch base with you.
Hmm.
Um, so our first volunteer effort was to get the mold to a few people, and my husband and went down to the River Arts District to help scoot, like shovel mud out of the basement level of my friend's
Yeah.
art gallery, and then like help with the mold. I think after he did shoveling, he had a cleaning sir. I'm not exactly sure if Brian was down there to clean or not, but I do know he went back and he helped spread the mold remover. And then the very next day, I was able to find somebody to watch Hadley for me. Meanwhile, sidebar, my child was fine the entire time. Didn't miss a beat. So
That's
she was
good.
a happy-go-lucky little thing. But she went over and stayed with some friends and played with the kids while I was able to join you at your husband JP's gallery. And to be able to see how big that building was, how high that second story was, and to know it flooded in there. It's still like, how, whoa, to see that couch on that roof, and
Yeah.
all that mud, all that clay, all that stuff. But it gave me so much purpose to get my hands dirty, and to get there to help you guys, and to be up in this gallery that I meant to go see way before that,
Yeah.
to see how wonderful where you lived, and where these things were, and how unique he is. And you know, you guys already worked so hard to get so many other things out, and you guys are so tired. And I remember him being like, we're just going to get this and this and that, but unfortunately my ADHD ridden body, and also like chinchilla energy, I'm like, oh no, you can't just, you can leave this. No, you're not. No, you're not. We're gonna get it out. We're
Yeah.
gonna get it. We're gonna get it out. I'm gonna get it out. Well, this furniture, I was like, no, I'm gonna get it out. And then I felt so happy, like the joy in my soul to get that furniture out in the sun and be able to take your finger and move just some mud. It wasn't destroyed. So the
Right.
things we were able to get out, I was so happy.
Yeah.
And to be, you know, kind of struggling to get some of the stuff out, and then just random strangers would come up and like, hey, I got this. Where do you want me to take it? And I was like,
Yeah.
cool. They took it. And then the
Yeah.
next group of guys
Yeah.
came up. I was like, this too, this too, this
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So it just felt, and then I found this beautiful drawer full of sketches, and they were unharmed. And to be able to be like, we got all this extra stuff out that you thought we should give up on, or maybe you didn't even know it was there because there was so much
There
of his
was
life's
so
work
much.
there.
And I will tell you that John or JP, your spirit, your beautiful heart encouraged it encouraged my husband at a very difficult time. And
Yeah.
and he's ever since has said, I love that Jill. He's forever, forever indebted for you coming because we had been at it since Sunday,
Yeah.
going back. And it's like it it was just really very heavy. And then even coming over, you and Brian to come over and help us as we were fortunate enough to get some storage units so that we could have a place for his stuff and you guys helping us there. It just really grateful
Uh,
for the help that you gave, but just for the encouragement that you gave to JP and I in a really difficult time.
yeah, I can't, like I said, I was very lucky that everything that was near and dear to me, all of my little drawings and sketches and all my little personal memories were fine and safe. So when I got into that place and I saw this is life's work,
Yeah.
this is built, this was a little nest in this world that if you walked in there, like I haven't, I look forward to more opportunities to meet and chat with JP and get to know him.
Yeah.
But to walk in there and see you get to know him, and there's a lot of memories and like his in moments where he, thanked people or he stood there proud because he was accomplishing things that he didn't think he was going to get to accomplish.
Yeah.
Because that's hard to say goodbye to things that
Yeah.
you know
Yeah. It
they
is.
should have all found homes. People should be able to appreciate all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that my goofiness could help him,
Yeah.
you know.
We had help of just even total strangers, people that we didn't
Yeah.
know. And it just, I mean, I just felt like we had angels all around us.
And to see people showing up to the storage unit,
Yeah.
because I think did we do the storage unit the night before and then the next day? Yeah, yeah. So I met you at the storage unit to load things. You guys were coming from a trip.
Yeah.
And I met you and some of other burn people met you. And the whole time I was like, there's more in there. We can
Yeah.
get it. We can get it. And
Yeah.
JP's like, we're not going back. We're not going back. I go, but, but. Then by the end of the putting the things in there, you're like, we're going back in tomorrow. And so then I was able to make those arrangements for the babysitter.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, we're going in tomorrow. We're going in.
Yeah.
And I was astonished with how much stuff I was like, oh no, 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 we're not leaving. I go,
Yeah.
I got my minivan. I will load this
Yeah.
stuff. I'm like, you can't leave this sketch. It's absolutely stunning. You can't.
Well, I will tell you that I think so many people really did encourage him that we're going to take more, we're going to take more, this isn't damaged. And he was very fortunate because of everyone underneath him was totally flooded out, and the fact, and it's interesting how there's that survivor's guilt, right? Because we can all look at what we experienced and say, but we're still here. We still have this, we still have that when others don't. But I think it's really important for us just to say, but we also went through something.
Yeah.
We experienced loss, a loss in our home, or the flooding and the work that you and Brian were going to have to do to remediate the mold in your house. And it just we all had things that we went through. And I, even when I'm coaching people with grief, you can't compare one's grief with another. Like you can't compare one person's experience with Hurricane Helene with another because we all went through something. And as a community, we went together. So, your heart, once you were made aware of what happened around us, it was incomprehensible. It was hard to comprehend what happened here. And so yeah, you got to see that. I know that I had people telling me that, but I still couldn't quite wrap my head around it.
Was
And
JP still working in the hospital too?
he was.
See,
Yeah.
like I couldn't stop thinking about this man. I was like, he's working and he's working, and no wonder you get to a point where you're like, I want to, I don't want to give this stuff up,
Yeah.
but I am a human being with a body that needs to sit down.
Yes.
And so it
Yeah.
was remarkable. It was remarkable to see all that we could do together.
Yeah.
And God, I just kept praying for him. I was like, go sleep, please go sleep, please go
Yeah.
get some rest.
We
And
would come home and we would be so tired. I will tell you that I he has agreed to let me interview him, but not quite yet. It's still, even a year later,
oh
it's
yeah.
very tender because nothing is the same, and people will say, well, you've got a new space now. No, no, he doesn't. And
Oh, I
he
was gonna say, I was like, did I miss something? Because I didn't get to move stuff into this place.
no, we haven't.
But I'm right there, ready
Yeah.
and willing
So
when you get
it's,
there.
thank you, Jill. And it will be a big
Oh
celebration when
yeah.
we do, but I'm so happy for the businesses that are up and going to see that the marquee, which is
Mm-hmm.
right
Right
behind us,
there.
our friends Robert and Rebecca Nicholas, that's their business. JP and Robert and Rebecca were walking the railroad tracks after the floodwaters subsided, looking for items from that had got washed away out of the marquee, and
Hmm.
they're opening this week.
I saw my
This
friend
week.
has a spot in there,
It's so
and
wonderful.
he was he was a vendor there before, and he always said, "You should come, you should come." And the thing is my daughter's so little, and she's at that stage of like, you don't take a bulldog to a china shop. So I never got to. There are so many things in this town that I never got to experience because I'm in a place in my life, in a part of my life, like the salvage station. There's so many. You should have seen a show there. You should have. I should have. Could have. Wish I could have. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that I won't get that opportunity, and so I'm really happy. I'm gonna take my little bulldog to the marquee. I'm not missing out
Yeah.
on anything else, and I'm really excited about that.
And the thing that I saw this morning, and I posted it on my Facebook timeline, there are a lot of celebrations that are going on in the area. And there's also memorials, which I think is appropriate,
Hmm.
for us to remember that, but we're still here 1 year later. Things didn't go back to normal as quickly as we thought.
No, and I'm still working on my basement.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, what, how, how has this experience shaped you, or has it changed the way that you see yourself?
Um, I think that I'm realizing more and more when life happens that I'm a really, really strong person. And I am extremely strong when I need to be. And when the dust settles, that's when there's no more work for me to do, that's when things hit differently for me.
Yeah.
But when there's a call to action, I am really proud of myself for how I show up in the world.
Yeah.
Um, and it's changed me because I know that I can do things and I can get through things. And it's maybe me growing up a little bit more slowly, one life at a time, like, but it connects me more with the ground underneath my feet, knowing that life is really precious.
Yeah.
And I think more and more, since I've always been that nervous hamster, anxiety ridden person on the wheel when I have my quiet space, then more and more I'm able to ground myself a little quicker and remember that like maybe I'd always tried to practice gratitude, but I think it hits a lot different now.
Yeah.
Um, and then a weird thing, I've never been a person that like I enjoy rain, I enjoy thunder and lightning and wind, but I do think that I'm way more fearful than I've ever been. Like so, I I have a really uncomfortable time still with storms. I can't stop looking at trees everywhere I go. And it's weird because I used to watch like Naked and Afraid all the time and they'd go like, oh, that's a widowmaker. So I I'm constantly looking around like, is that one, like the trees that are so close to my house. I'm like, I hate killing nature,
Yeah.
but I'm like, should I? Should I?
Yeah. And the
How am I
inter
scared of trees? Like, I never
yeah.
would have ever thought in my life I'd be scared of trees, but I am scared of trees.
Yeah. I totally understand. And I will say that for me, in our neighborhood, we experienced very similar things that the trees were down and there was no way to get out of the neighborhood. And it really did take people coming together with chainsaws to cut one
I was
path.
gonna say, does everybody in your neighborhood own a chainsaw? Everybody,
A
and I'm
lot of people had
positive
chainsaws in my neighborhood. So,
that chainsaw business got a kick because I
yeah,
think every single I hear a chainsaw every weekend
yeah,
now.
yeah. So, and also, I was glad that I knew several ways to get in and out of my neighborhood, so it was a little bit like going through a maze because we'd get to this one place and there's trees down. Oh, okay, we need to turn around and go another
Yeah, it
direction,
was like a maze.
Yeah, trying to figure that out. So, but so, um, is there like any advice that maybe that you would want to give to someone that's going through a disaster? Like what would you tell them from your experience?
Mm, good question. I again think that it's very important to find those silver linings, like we were going through a disaster, but it was not all bad because you met people. It got you out, got you meeting people, people for people, people doing things for people. All the food trucks that helped, all the wondrous disaster relief pickup lines, holding people's hands, praying for you, listening to you,
Yeah.
um, finding those silver linings because it is scary and the not knowing what's going to come or maybe financially it can be such a burden to know that you don't have help. How are you going to get through it?
Yeah.
um because that was definitely something. I mean, like, lots of people were out of work, including myself, and just again finding those silver linings, like those little food trucks where you could have a picnic with meet
Yeah.
up with your friends. Like after I helped JP, I met the friends who were watching Hadley at a food truck, Black Bear Cafe, in that little nook and cranny in Fletcher. And they were raising money for a guy that worked there that had nothing. And the guy comes out with a bottle of wine after we're literally devouring the most amazing burgers of my life that were given to us. And I'm just smashing them. And the guy comes out with a couple bottles of wine for us and our friends to share. And the kids, they got them little treats. And to just see people who are in a miserable position in life smiling and just feeling the sun on their face, and you know knowing that it's going to be okay, and find those beautiful moments, find those beautiful things in people, because there's enough bad stuff in this world.
Yeah.
But realizing, like, even if you're down and destitute and you did lose every single little thing, that, just like in Bambi, when it all burnt down, it comes back
Yeah.
different, but it comes back. You
Yeah.
just gotta get that poison grit in your soul and
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah. I think this had the opportunity to bring out the best in us and probably brought out the worst in
Sure,
others as well,
sure.
But
There was those off, if you get on Facebook, if you get into the comments or the conspiracies and the things that, oh, the government caused this, or like, it's beyond me. I'm not that person, but um when you think like, there those little like there's always somebody who's like that, instead of finding some positives or silver linings, they're finding weird ways to make it almost worse. Does that make sense?
oh, absolutely. And
But like there's people that just want to add to your stress, add
yeah,
to your worry.
And that's where I've had to learn to just really put up a filter and filter everything because I have to guard my peace
Yeah.
at all costs. And so I think it's important to be informed, but not to the point that you have no peace, you
Yeah.
know? So I will say, if you ever want to know what's going on weather-wise, call me because I am that weather watcher, and jokingly, I said in my story that I shared a few days ago, not only do I know the weather in this area, but where my daughters live, where my parents live, where my family in South Carolina, I'm watching all of the weather. So if you
I
ever
should do
want
that.
to know, and I will tell you, there are two storms that are out there right now that we need to keep an eye on because we could early next week get something. Just putting it out there.
Yeah, I'm like, hurricane season is back. That is
Yeah,
definitely one thing that's a little haunting. It's like, it's something that's never happened in this area. Is that what they're
right.
saying? It's never happened.
Yeah,
But what does that mean? What does that
exactly.
mean? Does that
I
mean it's gonna start happening?
But Jill, you know what the thing is it's so unpredictable. There's no way that we can know. But so think about it this way. It's what can we do to prepare ourselves? And again, prepping, I used to have a real negative feeling about prepping, like, oh, these doomsday people, but no, it's like, let's be smart. Keep water in your house. Have batteries, flashlights, candles, matches, have some things, full
Yep.
tank of gas, or even just to store gas, in your house just in case you need it. It just, where before I really didn't think about those things, I do now, but not because I'm paranoid, but just in case something happens, I've got some things that
Yeah. I
that
mean, I
can
have a
help me.
chainsaw and a generator and a sub pump now. So it's exciting times.
You're a real homeowner now for sure, right?
Yeah, I'm full of bad jokes, full of bad jokes. And one of them was like, a tree could have fallen on my deck or my roof. We need those replaced. And that's the only thing the insurance would cover. But
Well,
whatever, it's gonna be fine.
yeah, I have to tell you, I do love you so much, and I'm grateful for our friendship. I have always loved your heart, your tender heart, and the way that you reach out to people in this world. And you and Brian really blessed us a lot with your help, and we'll be forever, forever grateful for the hands and the muscle that you gave for us in a difficult time. So. Thank
Thank you.
you.
I feel the same way about you. I mean, you've given me the tools that are in my pocket for grief counseling, and um, that's been incredible. I can't tell you how much it's helped me,
Yeah.
and how it continues to help me in my moments of, loss.
Yeah.
Um, and all those times I've been able to sit on your couch and just vent. I mean,
Yeah.
that's strong shoulders right there. I've got a lot. I've had a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
So I
I'm
appreciate you very, very much. You're like family to me.
You're welcome. Well, thank you, Jill, for this time together. I really appreciate it a lot. And thank you, everyone that stuck around and listened to Jill's story and Michelle throw in a little something in every now and then. So we'll see you next time. Thanks, Jill.
Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Bye.